Good morning, everyone. I'm Costas Menegakis, the Member of Parliament for the great people of Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill. Welcome to day 2 of our convention, and thanks for joining us so bright and early this morning. The Liberals have tried to sow division in our party for months now. We're all accustomed to the drumbeat that the usual suspects try to create. Afraid of what we can do as a united Conservative Party focused on cleaning up the mess of the last 10 years of Liberal government. And what a mess it has been. Under their oversight, everything has gotten more expensive. Basics have turned into luxuries, home ownership is out of reach, and crime rages on our streets. The Liberals ignore the affordability crisis, pretending it doesn't exist, while millions of Canadians struggle every day. Instead of tackling the real challenges, they pay attention to their insider friends. Here's the hard truth. After 10 years of Liberal government, the Canadian promise of work hard, play by the rules, and get ahead no longer applies. The cost of food has spiraled out of control under the overspending, tax-happy Liberal government. A shocking quote from Food Bank Canada's 2025 hunger count says that we are becoming a country where hunger is normalized. Nearly 1 in 5 of its clients is employed but is unable to make ends meet. I'm sure you've experienced it at the grocery store, as have I. Judge me by your grocery bill, said Mark Carney. Well, let's do that. Since he became Prime Minister in March 2025 and November, strawberries increased by 94.7%, cantaloupe increased by 36.4%, romaine lettuce increased by 29.2%, beef top sirloin cuts increased by 23.5%, roasted or ground coffee increased by 23%, iceberg lettuce up by 22%, and peppers increased by 14.3%. Inflation is continuing to spiral. This isn't something theoretical, ladies and gentlemen. This has real-life consequences, and Canadians are hurting every day because of it. But this was also predictable and is a result of damaging and poorly planned Liberal policies. And who predicted it and pushed hard for Liberals to change course? Our leader, Pierre Poilievre. He predicted it because he stood in arenas and in libraries and plant floors talking to thousands of voters one by one. They told him their stories and the struggles they were facing. He stood, he looked them in the eye. He listened to them and he heard them. The Liberals and some in the media pretended he was wrong. They derided his concern about inflationary spending and about the inflationary carbon tax. They mocked his serious and thoughtful commentary in an effort to diminish and demean legitimate concern about out-of-control spending. But Conservatives and Canadians knew better. The Liberals are trying to distract. They are trying to divide. They are doing their best to highlight Conservative disunity and to weaken our party. But just the opposite is happening. We are showing them here today that the Conservative movement in Canada will not be divided. In fact, we are more united than ever under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. We will not be weakened. Conservatives will continue to focus on restoring hope by making life affordable again through lower taxes, less inflation, and cheaper housing, groceries, and energy so Canadians can build a better future. We are going to continue to loudly and proudly fight for a more affordable Canada, united and strong under Pierre Poilievre's leadership. Canada and the most vulnerable Canadians need us. So today, when you go mark your ballots on this leadership review, let's say yes to affordable groceries, yes to a united Canada, and yes to a united Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre, the man who increased our Conservative coalition to 41.5% of the national vote and garnered a historic 8.1 million votes. And a resounding yes to our leader, the next leader of Canada, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is my honor and privilege to welcome to the stage my colleague, Member of Parliament, Tamara Kronis. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tamara Kronis, and I have the honor of representing the decent, hardworking, wonderful people of Nanaimo, Ladysmith. There's an old saying that all politics is local. And that's why it is so good to be in a room like this with people from every riding, every province, and every corner of this great country. Because you feel everything we debate in Ottawa at your kitchen table and in your communities. When Conservatives bring together voices from across Canada, we make better policy. We get the benefit of your experience, and you make sure that no community is ignored. One of the things I love most about my job is the chance it gives me to get to talk with you. And no matter where you come from, you've told me that you're worried about the same things, including the safety of your community. Because crime is up in Canada. Violent crime has spiked across the country, and Canadians feel it. Whether it's rampant car theft in Ontario or the extortion wave that we're experiencing in BC, home invasions or random acts of violence, people are concerned. To let this chaos and disorder continue is straight-up negligence, and it has been enabled entirely by a Liberal government that has spent the last 10 years seesawing between pretending it's not happening and pretending that there is nothing they can do about it. Canadians have the right to defend themselves and their families. And that's why Conservatives proposed the Stand on Guard principle, which would amend the criminal code to presume that the use of force is reasonable when someone unlawfully enters your home and poses a threat to the safety of the people inside. We're also proposing real action to tackle extortion, which is terrorizing communities across this country. Conservatives support mandatory minimum sentences of 3 years for anyone convicted of extortion, 4 if a firearm is used, and 5 if the extortion is connected to organized crime. And we would try fentanyl dealers for the murderers that they are. Because another thing that both the Liberals and the NDP ignored were Conservative warnings about our growing addictions crisis. It's another place where this government has let ideology trump evidence and where vulnerable people are paying the price. Let me be clear. Violent crime and addiction are not the same thing, and they must never be conflated. People struggling with addiction are not criminals simply because they are sick. They deserve care, dignity, and a real path to recovery. But the liberal approach has failed them. They decriminalized dangerous drugs in cahoots with the NDP and handed out taxpayer-funded hard drugs through so-called safe supply programs. Instead of helping people out of addiction, they abandoned them. And in many cases, they made the situation worse by providing tools to keep using without accountability, without treatment, and without hope. Conservatives believe that Canadians deserve better. And we are committed to bringing our loved ones home drug-free. I was just in Red Deer last week where my colleague MP Burton Bailey showed me the treatment and recovery work they've been doing in his community, and I'm working on a plan for my own. Because, as the Prime Minister says, a plan beats no plan. And what has this Prime Minister done to help with the addictions crisis for all of his lofty words? He canceled the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. Seriously. In fact, the word addictions appears only once in the Prime Minister's first budget, on page 247, where we learn that the $1.2 billion the federal government gives the provinces to support not only addiction services, but also home and community care and mental health, that money is set to expire after 2026-27. Meantime, our leader, Pierre Poilievre, has committed to fund 50,000 recovery spaces, one for every person who has died so far in this travesty, because he cares. That's a plan. What the Liberals and NDP are doing, on the other hand, that's abandonment. On these files and others, Conservatives have put forward serious, practical solutions. With your help, we will put forward more of those responsible, practical solutions because of what you do this weekend. Our approach should be firm, compassionate, and focused on recovery. We would allow judges to sentence offenders to mandatory treatment for addiction where appropriate. We would require recovery-oriented rehabilitation programs in prison so that people leave custody healthier than when they entered and less likely to offend. And we would end the failed NDP Liberal safe supply experiment, not with a whimper, but with a bang. Not with a phone line that leads to nowhere like they're doing in BC, but with beds and treatment and hope. Because while the Liberals are the party that likes to look down at Canada through the window of an airplane, turning their backs on hardworking Canadians and those trying to keep up, we are focused on you. Focused on real-life, honest solutions. Focused on dealing with those important issues and the other issues that hinder our productivity, get in the way of good wages, safe streets, peace of mind, and home ownership. We want to build a Canada where families can safely raise their kids. Under Pierre Poilievre's leadership, the Conservative Party has been clear and unwavering in our commitment to you. This weekend, we need you to help us continue that mission. As Conservatives, we believe Canada can be safer, stronger, and more united than it is today. We believe in responsibility, compassion, and common sense. And that's how we went from being 6,000 votes behind in Nanaimo Ladysmith to being almost 6,000 votes ahead in just 2 elections. My riding is living proof that losing on your first run sets the stage for a big win if you stay united and work hard to show our communities what we can do for Canada. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Pierre Poilievre showed up in my riding over and over again to help me do just that. Every time he came, he kept asking me the same question. What are you hearing at the doors, Tamara? Stay focused on those things. And that is my message to you for this weekend. Because if together, if we stay focused on what we're hearing at the doors, about what we're hearing at the kitchen tables, about affordability, productivity, safety, and compassion, united under Pierre Poilievre, with the policies that you wisely choose this weekend, that is exactly the Canada that we will build together. So I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for making the trip here to Calgary. I want to thank you for helping us to build our policies and our party so that we will be ready for the fight whenever it comes to us. Bless you all. And I want to introduce you to my colleague, Roman Baber, who'll join us next. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. I'm MP Roman Baber from the riding of York Centre in the great city of Toronto. Right now, I'm the only Conservative member of Parliament in Toronto, but I promise you there will be plenty more of us after the next election. I was elected in 2025 under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. Serving Torontonians and serving Canadians in the House of Commons is an honor of a lifetime. Like many of us in this room, I'm an immigrant to Canada. 30 years ago, Canada needed chemical engineers. My dad was a chemical engineer. So my folks took an English test, a medical exam, passed a criminal background check, and we were blessed with the gift of coming to Canada. The system worked. We came to Toronto when I was 15, and we didn't have a cent to our name. My family worked hard and did our part to make our country strong. It wasn't always easy, but I've always had a job, and I've always had hope because I had the Canadian promise. The promise that all you need to do to succeed in Canada is work hard and be nice to people. And if you work hard and you follow the rules, you can afford a good life and a good home. And the promise that no matter where you're from, in Canada, you can achieve anything. I'm Exhibit A for the Canadian promise. But after a decade of the Liberal government, and make no mistake, it's the same old Liberal government, the Canadian promise is broken. Canada is now rampant with chaos and confusion. The Liberals failed on every front. For instance, on immigration, the Liberals destroyed Canada's immigration system. Their radical open border policies overwhelmed our housing, our healthcare, and our justice systems. Let's just look at the facts. The latest census revealed that the Liberals missed almost 40% of temporary residents. They allowed the asylum seeker backlog to balloon from 10,000 claims in 2015 to over 300,000 claims today. Meanwhile, rejected claimants who wait for an appeal for almost as long as 4 years continue to receive full federal benefits. In the last 10 years, Canadians paid over $2.8 billion in healthcare costs alone. It's unfair and it's unacceptable. It's also unfair to newcomers who follow the rules, apply to come to Canada, and then watch hundreds of thousands of economic migrants jump the queue claiming they're refugees. But the Liberals didn't just help people break the rules. They weakened the immigration screenings that kept us safe. Imagine, over 700 IRGC agents have been allowed into Canada. Mark Carney promised to fix the system, but instead he made our immigration system worse. As Pierre Poilievre says, we used to have the best immigration system in the world. It brought people in reasonable numbers with the skills we needed. Immigration failure is not the only chaos the Liberals unleashed from Ottawa. Canadians used to be some of the safest people in the world, but now our streets are ridden with crime and chaos because of Liberal soft-on-crime laws. Here in Calgary, firearm offenses tripled since the Liberals took power. Violent offenses are up 66%. In my city of Toronto, car thefts are up 250%. And across the country, violent crime is up by 50%. The Liberals ignored clear warning signs about their failed bail reform. We have a revolving door bail system that forces judges to consider release at the earliest opportunity with the least restrictive conditions. Keeping Canadians safe requires immediate action, but the Liberals spent 2025 refusing to act. So the crime and chaos go on Canada's streets. Offenders are arrested, they're released within days, and often they reoffend again. The Liberals cut jail sentences, brought in easy bail, and let gangs and extortionists roam our streets. That's why Canadians need a Conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre. Pierre will end the Liberal bail system, tackle crime, fix the asylum system, strengthen border security, and deport serious criminals who aren't citizens. We need to end the chaos. And under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre, we will restore an immigration system that serves Canadians and makes sense. Pierre will restore the Canadian promise, not just for newcomers, but for all Canadians. We will make our streets safe again, and we will make government work again. This country gave me and my family everything, and I will not stop fighting to help Pierre Poilievre to make Canada the true North strong and free. Thank you so much, and God bless our wonderful nation. Thank you. Friends, we're going to take a few minutes to reset the stage for the constitutional breakout. There's also a policy breakout session in the Petron Ballroom next door. Thank you, and have a wonderful convention. Thank you.